The heavens shine brightly when it calls home one of its own. To understand why it sparkles so today, a walk down to the corner of South 3rd and Park Avenue in the late 70s would have shown you all you needed to know. There, Mr. Blackburn, a fine man in his own right, would provide a path for a young man to make his way. As a little boy, you should have seen the strength that he had and the strength that he gave. As a toddler, even through the stress of trying to breathe, he could still crack a smile that would bring you to tears. In a way, he put me on notice. There's fun to be had out here, and you're up to bat, dude. So there we went, on a bike, with him on my back, riding throughout the city. Typically, we'd find a park and just chill. In my young adult days, I somehow thought I was doing what I could to improve the quality of his life, when all along he was enriching the quality of my life in ways that I could not imagine. With his health on the mend, and I am mindful to say, thank you, Lord, the kid would come into his own as he welcomed and cherished into the fold a couple of sidekicks. Throughout the years, I would become in awe of all of them. And this one would defy the odds. He was not given much of a chance beyond his adolescence, and yet to look into his very essence revealed a soul that fought to live, and live he did. We can put one thing to rest. He was never a special needs child. He was just special, something that we should all strive to be. He may have been born with a heart that was physically compromised, but he was also born with a soul that was touched divinely. Although we've had a distance throughout the years, upon seeing him, he would always remind me that he still had that fire within him. And to see it, all I had to do was ask him for $2. His response? Let's just say over 43 years, he has always been of sound mind. So I'm sending to him something I've always asked from him, although I doubt that he'll need it, just so he knows I'm thinking of him. And that would be his response, a simple wink and a smile. This is the guy who took the training wheels off my whole fatherhood experience. And he gave me just one more reason to say, thank you, Lord.
How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good time that made us laugh, outweigh the bad. I thought we'd get but forever's gone away. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. I don't know where this road is going to lead. All I know is where we've been and what we've been through. If we get to see tomorrow, I hope it's worth all the pain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memories to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. And I'll take with me the memory to be my sunshine after the rain. It's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday.
Oh, a man is placed upon the steps and a baby cries. High above you can hear the church bells start to ring. And as the heaviness, oh, the heaviness, the body settles in, somewhere you can hear a mother sing. Then it's one foot, then the other, as you step out on the road. Step out on the road. How much weight? How much? Then it's how long and how far and how many times. Oh, before it's too late. Call all angels, call all angels. Walk me through this while, don't leave me alone. Call all angels, call all angels. We're trying, we're hoping, but we're not sure how. Oh, and every day you gaze upon the sunset with such love and intensity. Why, It's almost as if you could only crack the code, then you'd finally understand what this all means. Ah, but if you could, do you think you would trade it all the pain and suffering? Ah, but then you'd miss the beauty of the light upon this earth, and then the sweetness of the leaving. Calling all angels, calling all angels, walk me through this one, don't leave me alone. Calling all angels, calling all angels. We're trying, we're hoping, but we're not sure. Calling all angels, calling all angels, calling all angels, calling all angels. Walk me through this, walk me through this. Don't leave me alone. Calling all angels, calling all angels. We're trying, we're hoping, we're hurting, we're loving, we're crying, we're calling, 'cause we're not sure how this.
Welcome everyone to the celebration of life for Anthony Robinson. My name is Amy DeBeck. It's my privilege, it's an honor to be the pastor here at Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Elkhart. Anthony lived in a cloud of witnesses of his very big personality, and some of his witnesses are pastors. And as I was talking with Nikki, Xander, I can't see you. As I was talking with Nikki about all the churches that have been attended by different family members, she mentioned that Pastor Gary, William Gary, had always been very special to the Johnson family. And I called him and got to have a real nice conversation with him yesterday. And he sent along a letter for the family. And I'd like to read that. To the family of Anthony E. Robinson, Fran, along with the Gary girls, joins me in expressing to you our deepest and heartfelt sympathy during this, your season of sorrow, in the passing of Anthony. We were deeply saddened by the news. Our love, thoughts, and prayers are with you and your entire family. Also, we would like for you to know that even though we are unable to be physically present with you today, you are in our thoughts and prayers. We will remember Anthony as a kind and gentle spirit who had the ability to love everyone. I don't believe he ever met a stranger. Remember that the promise is coming, and thank God, there is a new world coming. It is the New Jerusalem. There will be no more crying, no more dying, no more sorrow, sickness, or pain, and God will wipe away all of our tears forever. We pray your strength in the Lord, and may you find your comfort in knowing that we stand with you in spirit today and are available to you for whatever might bring you comfort. Because he lives, the Gary family. Fran, Annette, Leslie, Deborah, and Pastor William Gary. And I've already given Mrs. Johnson a copy, and there are more copies as well. Pastor Stewart has a resolution to read from his congregation as well. Pastor Stewart, if you, I'm sorry, Spencer. Pastor Spencer, if you'd like to come up and share the resolution, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Actually, if I pass one, unfortunately, it's for
Some water, of course.
someone to read for me.
Oh, of course, of course. And your name is?
Deborah Clark.
Deborah Clark. Thank you. I'm asking.
It's just a little hard to talk with these. Good afternoon, everyone. Giving honor to God and to Reverend and Kevin DeBeck in your place of worship, and honor to my pastor, Barry Spencer, and our associate pastor, Reverend George Jones. Before I read the resolution, I earlier had an outburst, and I do apologize to everyone. That is not my nature. And I know this is a trying time for everybody. And we all are a family. Regardless of how we fit into this puzzle, we are still one family. And this is a house of worship. And the way that I reacted is not how a Christian person acts in a house of worship. And so I am apologizing for my actions. And I do apologize for that. I do. It was not intentional. It's just something that happened. But I'm okay now, and I love everybody that's in this building. I am a member of Progressive Missionary Baptist Church. Church resolution, Saturday, August 15th, 2020, Brother Anthony E. Robinson. In support of Pastor Barry C. Spencer and First Lady Stephanie Spencer, Associate Ministers, Deacon Board, Board of Trustees, and members of Progressive Missionary Baptist Church, we take this time to extend to Deacon Clark, the father, and other bereaved family members of Anthony E. Robinson, who departed this life Friday, August 7th, at the age of 43. Our deepest sympathy in the year of our Lord and Savior Jesus and the Christ, this 15th day of August, 2020. Whereas God in his great power, in his own time, and for his own purpose, has called him to translate from the labors of this life to the sweetest rest and fellowship with him. We now ask him to grant you and your family the courage to accept his will. We know that at this time your hearts are heavy laden, but for your consolation, remember the words found in Isaiah 41:10. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not dismayed, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee. Yea, I will help thee. Yea, I will uphold thee with the right hand of my righteousness. Resolved, if Brother Robinson were to pen a letter to you, he might say the following: don't weep for me. When tomorrow starts without me, and I'm not there to see, if the sun should rise and find your eyes all filled with tears for me, don't weep for me, for I've made it home. Through heaven's gates, here I may roam. Wipe your tears and dry your eyes. I'm in a better place, with heaven as my prize. While thinking of the many things we didn't get to say, when tomorrow starts without me, don't think we're far apart, for every time you think of me, I'm right here in your heart. So don't weep for me, no tears and no sorrow. Live life for Jesus, for his promises tomorrow. Be it resolved that Brother Anthony E. Robinson will truly be missed by all who knew and loved him, and we pray the healing power of Christ be with you in this time of sorrow. Even as we mourn, we are resigned to the will of the all-wise Heavenly Father. Be at peace in the everlasting love of the Lord. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution become an official document in the files of Progressive Missionary Baptist Church, and the original forwarded to the family of Brother Anthony E. Robinson. Done by the order of the church, Sister Barbara J. Williams, Church Clerk, and Reverend Barry C. Spencer, Pastor. And we send our love to each and every one of you.
name is the Reverend Kevin DeBeck, and I'm serving as your Master of Ceremonies today. Before we begin, we've already started, but as we're starting the main part of the service today, one of the things that Unitarian Universalists do to mark the beginning of our holy time together is that we light a chalice. Now, some traditions you drink from a chalice. In our tradition, we light it on fire. So a brief history of this symbol as our faith comes from an Austrian artist. Before and during World War II, the Unitarian Service Committee wanted a symbol for those that were being basically smuggled out of Nazi Germany. And as time went on, the chalice became the official symbol of our religion. This image had connotations of sacrifice and love. So this is why Unitarian Universalists have a chalice to this day. And our chalice lighting comes from Patricia Sheldon, and she says, "In this hour of holy stillness, we gather to honor the life of the person we love. In this hour of holy stillness, we remind ourselves that the flames of life and love are never fully extinguished. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer ourselves for sharing the weight of each other's grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we offer the strength of our love to help others survive their pain and grief. In this hour of holy stillness, we call forth from each of us the power we offer out of life, out of loss, and out of love." I would like to invite to the pulpit Cousin Holly Robinson to read the obituary.
Good afternoon. Anthony E. Robinson, 43, of Goshen, Indiana, passed away on Friday, August 7th of this year at Goshen Hospital. Anthony was born on June 2nd, 1977, in Elkhart to Zanzer Robinson Anderson and Clifford Clark. He is preceded in death by our grandfather, Richard Robinson Jr., and our grandfather, Floretha Robinson. He is survived by his parents, Zanzer and Norman Anderson of Elkhart, Michael Johnson of Texarkana, Arkansas, Clifford and Deb Clark of South Bend, his brother Benjamin Johnson and Karen Johnson, Ben Johnson and his wife Karen Johnson of San Angelo, Texas, his sister Elizabeth Nikki Johnson and her partner Byron Vaughn III of Indianapolis, grandparents Ruth Johnson and Imogene Robinson, both of Elkhart, his niece Sajasia Riddick Johnson, nephews Jaden Johnson and Priest Webb. Anthony graduated from Elkhart Central High School. He was a member of Unitarian Evangelist Fellowship of Elkhart. Anthony served as a day worker at ADEC Incorporated since the age of 19. Anthony was extremely politically active, and he helped and inspired hundreds of individuals with special needs in his lifetime. Anthony enjoyed bowling and playing basketball, as well as t-ball. He was competitive in cheerleading, winning many competitions with the Indiana Ultimate Wings cheer team. Anthony enjoyed writing song lyrics as well as dancing. He was a gregarious philosopher. Anthony kept his company on their toes while simultaneously warming our hearts. Most of all, he was known as a lovable guy. His smile, his laugh, and his unparalleled charm were irresistible, and he definitely never met a stranger. Anthony was a blessing to anyone who crossed his path. He'll be greatly missed, and I dearly miss him. But I know he's up there with Papa right now, as well as Grandma and Aunt Doris, and they're all looking down on us. And I just wish that when I saw him this time, 2 years ago in Memphis, that I knew it was going to be the last time that I saw him. I do want to come back up and speak later. Again.
Nothing about this is easy, but all of it's worthwhile. Thank you. The first time I met Anthony was here at UUFE. We didn't have this room yet, and the gallery that has paintings now used to be our coat closet. Zanzer was still working at Elkhart General Hospital, and she had a friend there named Holly. And Zanzer gotten Holly to come here, and she'd been attending for a little bit, but I didn't know her very well. I walked in one Sunday, and I saw Holly, well, she was kind of arguing, really, kind of being bossy with this black man I had not seen. And when he turned around, I figured out that he was an adult with Downs, and that this new member was arguing with him. I wasn't sure what to think, and I wasn't sure what to do. Within moments, I realized that actually it was Anthony being bossy. They were friends, and he was telling her what to do. She wasn't having it, and he was arguing with her. That's how I met Anthony. He could hold his own. As I became aware of his place in the world, the one that he carved out, he became dear to me and to those of us here at the church who have known him and his family. Some of his family. Anthony's place in the world was carved out by a mother who always treated him as capable and self-sufficient, even when he learned how to tell people what he needed and what he wanted now. As more people entered his life, he carved an Anthony-shaped place in their hearts. When he was a baby, his favorite caregiver was his grandfather. When Ben and Nikki came along, he and Ben were peas in a pod, and Sister Nikki was the beloved baby. Anthony had nicknames for people, like all of Nikki's boyfriends being called Tyrone. Zanzer's friend Patty, who drove a Mini Cooper, was called Minnie. The family is going to tell a million stories of him loving roller coasters and being a competitive cheerleader. We've had lots of opportunities to gather and laugh. Last night, as I heard the stories flow, I laughed so hard that today my ribs are bruised. May that Anthony-sized place in your hearts glow with warmth, even as you learn to live without him. When he was about 30, he announced to Norman and Zanzer that he was a grown man, they were boring, and he was going to live with Frank at the group home. As a grown man with his own place, he was very territorial. Nikki and Ben, and probably many of you, have stories of going to visit him where he would be cordial for a bit, but he would eventually point out that this was his house, you didn't live there, and it was time to go. Anthony had many friends in his life, even some girlfriends. Sometimes his ADEC friends and him had to remind their friends that they were independent. Sue was Stephen's mother, and Anthony loved Stephen and loved Sue, particularly her meatloaf. His friend Alicia was dear to him, and we'll hear other stories too. One story that I heard, it's a little racy for church, but I had to include it. One of his friends at ADEC got hold of a lingerie magazine. Now, keep in mind, he didn't move out till he was 30, so this wasn't like 12-year-old kids. They got hold of a lingerie magazine, and ADEC tried to correct that behavior to not be looking at it. And he told them that he is a grown man and he can do what he pleases. I'm going to save the great stories, of course, for the people who knew him best. But I just want to say that the last few years, Anthony has been riddled with health crises, like COPD and recurring pneumonia. He still got around. You can hear about Xander and him going to see the Harlem Globetrotters and deciding that they were getting too old for these labor-intensive outings. When Anthony contracted COVID-19, he had several underlying issues, as they say. Certainly, one underlying issue is that our national leadership has not been leadership, and people like Anthony with multiple points of vulnerability were not held dearly enough in care. The healthcare workers do a great job, and he was made comfortable. But because of no coordinated efforts to lock things down and stop the spread, people die who should not. We are here to mourn the loss of Anthony, not to politicize his death, to celebrate the life of a vibrant and capable man, but also knowing the suffering of this family is angering. After being taught to advocate for himself and having been supported so lovingly his whole life, a virus that does not discriminate took his life. May we remember Anthony and laugh, remembering all the stories of his pithy wisdom. May all of the pictures and videos of him fill that Anthony-sized place in your life with warmth. May his legacy be one of courage and blunt honesty, and most of all, deep, unrestrained, consistent love. Rest in power, Anthony.
At this time, I'd like to invite his brother Ben, his sister Nikki, and cousin Tunisia up to the pulpit, please, to share some thoughts of Anthony.
Anthony knew me and introduced me to everyone as my sister Nikki. However, I did one day explain to him, well, Anthony, my name is also Elizabeth. And he looked at me and said, Elizabeth? And I said, yeah. He said, okay, Nikki. So we knew what he decided, and we went on with his decision. I was Nikki. He was a remarkable spirit, and he blessed all of us. We were graced with his 43 years. There was no one that he would not go to bat for. And if you were in the wrong, he would check you and then go to bat for you anyway. It's easy to see, it's effortless to see why he was so easily loved. But it is also very easy to feel you just want him all to yourself. That has been my life story. I understand that I need to share because he was plenty to go around for the entire world. But I was his little sister and he was my big brother. And even when we weren't necessarily taking care of each other, we were arguing back and forth. When it was time for one of us to be called for, to be stood up for, you couldn't keep us from having each other's back.
I want to thank everybody for coming out and celebrating Anthony today. Growing up, Anthony was my best friend growing up. He was there for me as a brother, and I often worried about him so much that I remember talking to Mom, and she was like, "You don't have to worry about Anthony. He can take care of himself." And he did. Anthony could take care of himself, and Anthony stood up for us. I remember one key story. When we were young, we had I want to say he was a bully, but we found out he became a friend, but his name was Gaines. And he used to mess with us. And I remember one day, Anthony picked up a big old rock and threw it at him, busted him in his knee, and he cried like a little baby. And Mom came out, we nursed him to health, and after that, we found out that Mom was friends with Mom, and Gaines became real close, and he even became an advocate and a protector for Anthony when he didn't need it as well. But Anthony, he looked out for us. He was, like I say, he was my best friend, but me and Nick, we also was our brother's keeper. I remember the last time I saw him back in 2018 when I went to the house, and I brought wanted to know what he wanted to eat, and he wanted Taco Bell, and I got some movies for him and a DVD player, and thought we was gonna watch Justice League, and he had other plans. He wanted to eat that Taco Bell in the kitchen, and I'm sitting there. I was like, "Hey, you gonna come watch this?" "No, I'm good. You can leave." And I was like, "Okay." I'll see you around. We would always wrestle and joke with each other, and I would, and being his brother, I would pick on him and I would cuss at him. I told him I would be his, and he'd, "Oh, Ben, stop." So that was the thing. But like I said, I'm glad everybody came out to celebrate, his life, and I know he's up there with Grandma and Grandpa and Doris, and he's in a good spot.
So when I was asked if I wanted to have words, I was like, sure. And I told Nikki I've been pondering what to say, because there's so much to say about him. And so I go back on memories when Aunt Pam lived on Cleveland. That was the spot, y'all. And I would go over there. That was like my second home. Me and Nikki and Anthony are like siblings to me. And so I would go over there, and I would come in the house. Anthony would always be in the living room watching TV. If he wasn't in there, he was in his room. But when I would come to the door, he would, "Cena, go home." And at that time, I probably never really said it too much. I used to think, I'm like, dang, he's not like me, And so I would just be like, I would mess with him. I'm like, "I am at home, Anthony." I would tell him, like, "I am at home." And he'll mumble something underneath his breath. And I would go into the back in the room with Nikki and we'll do our little thing. And just every time I would come, it'd be the same thing. He'd see me as like, it was just a sight of disappointment. Ooh, why is she here? Don't she got a home to go to? And I would be like, dang, what I do to him? Just in my mind, like, what the heck? I ain't even messing with him. So one day I came over, and I mean, I was there every day, so I can probably understand his pain. I'm a work to deal with, I get it. But one day I came over, and I walked through the door. I was expecting for him to say, "Seen to go home," or just give me a facial expression. He looked at me and walked out the room, and his socks, I would never forget. He would always wear his white socks, tube socks, and they would always be turned upside down. So he was messing with me. I said, "Go fix your socks and leave me alone." And going back into the back of the room. Well, this day, he said, "Seen to go home," but he turned around and made this little smirk, stuck his tongue out, and ran on to the back. So that gave me peace. I'm like, okay, he liked me after all. That's my cousin, you know. And you're right. He always had names for everybody. Being my brother, Nikki my sister, and Cena Princess. He never would say my name, but I was Cena Princess, and I was okay with that. And so his smile, he had a smile that was like no other. I'm gonna miss his smile. His spirit was beautiful and bright. I'm gonna miss him. So today, you know, things happen we don't understand. We don't know God's plan for none of us our time here on earth. But it is well with my soul because he's no longer suffering. He's no more pain. He's whole, complete, nothing broken, and nothing is missing. So with that, I have peace. I will find peace. If I don't have it, I'll have peace. And so I want to say, how he say, "Seen to go home." Well, he beat me to it. And one day I'll see him there. And I love him and I miss him.
I do want to say that it used to be just like me and Tanya by ourselves at Grandpa and Grandma's house out on Morgan Street. But when Anthony came along, I mean, me and him were always together. And before he could walk, he used to roll around. Couldn't walk, didn't crawl, but he used to roll. And he used to keep up with us. I don't know if you noticed in some of those pictures, Anthony has a little scar on his forehead. Well, I'm the one that produced that scar. We were outside and Anthony had his stroller and we used to go outside and play. And I would push his stroller and run and catch up with it. And he liked it, he had fun. He would push me again, you know, push me again. Push his stroller and I would run and catch up with it. And one time I pushed the stroller and he went toppling over, face first on concrete in the middle of the street. Started crying, you know, I'm trying to dust him off. Don't tell, don't tell. And he didn't tell. He didn't tell. I ended up telling him myself and ended up getting it from Grandma, Grandpa. I think got a whipping from, I got a whipping from everybody. But Anthony was my person I used to always hang out with. We were always together playing. And me being the oldest grandchild, I thought, you know, I had Grandpa and Grandma's heart, but it was Anthony. I I learned quickly that if they told me no, I could always go tell Anthony to go ask. And they would tell him yes. But the only problem was he would say, Holly said. And I would always say, don't tell him I told you to say. Don't tell him I told you to say. But, yeah. Anthony was the life of the party. Whenever we would have our family reunions or get together, he would always be the first person out on the dance floor. And be the last person to leave the dance floor. Didn't want to leave the dance floor. He had more energy than I did. As time passed in Memphis, I had to go back to the hotel and take a nap, but he had his oxygen tank and kept on going while I had to go back to the room and lay down. I'm gonna miss Anthony. He always came up to you and gave you a hug, but like everybody said, when he was tired of you, he let you know. He let you know that he wasn't going to do something, or he wasn't, you know. But I do want to thank everybody for coming out. And especially, including me, to let me travel and be here for this time.
I have to get up here and look around and look at the people and remember everybody's nickname Anthony had. Holly was Holly Gaga. No, wait a minute, that was, Tommy was Dada, Zeke Princess, Uncle Norman. Ben, you had another name, is it Ben Rutherford? Joel, he had a name for you, but if he didn't have a nickname for you, he probably didn't like you. But he had a nickname for you. Did he have a nickname for you? Dippy. Not Dippy. Wayne back there. Wayne. Yeah. It was Aunt Doris, but it was like, Aunt Doris, give me a beer. Beaumont back there in the back. Didn't he have a nickname for Nicholas?
I think he just called Nick.
Nicholas, he did give him a whooping one time.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Remember the time he gave me?
All the nieces and nephews were the Rugrats. Why the Rugrats here? Yeah, my good friend Patty was Minnie. I remember her and I and he going to a dinner, and it was a big deal because we were doing all kinds of politics and stuff. And Patty had worked really hard on getting in shape and stuff, and she had on this outfit. She really looked good, and she was there holding our table. And he walks in, and he looked at her, and she looked at her and goes, "Ooh, looking good, Minnie." And I do have to share one story. His grandma Johnson, he came over to the house one time and he looked down at her feet and he looked at her shoes and said, "Grandma Johnson, you need some new shoes." Because her tennis shoes, she still has them. And he went out and bought her a pair of tennis shoes. Yeah, she said she was going to wear them today, but she couldn't get them on. Yeah, he can call you Gyrone Byron. Did he? I didn't know what time it is. Yeah, I thought maybe he liked you. He didn't like you either. Priest, do you have a nickname for you? Yeah, you're just one of the Rugrats, yeah. Mom, by the Rugrats here. And we, knowing me, knowing Norm, and knowing in our house was very, very political. This story cracks me up because during the first year of the Obama campaign, we ran the campaign out of the house. And so the day of election, Anthony was so tired of these people being in our house. He was just done with it. They were there at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're there all evening. They'd come in and there was stuff. We marched in parades and we did everything. And so he gets up and they got MSNBC on. It is 5 in the morning and there are like 30 people. I don't even know how they all got in the house. And he's sitting down getting ready to eat breakfast and wait for the bus to pick him up. And he walks over to the guy who's turning the station. He goes, "Excuse me." And he said, "Yes, Anthony?" He goes, "I watch cartoons." So I had to apologize and tell him, "Okay, guys, you're going to have to let him watch cartoons before if the bus is picking him up, he's going to go to school. We can have the TV after that, but you just, you know." And so, you know, they got the cartoons on, and he went on to work, and then he came back, because that day of election, the house was just a mess and bustling, and he was just so tired of it, and he's like, he went in the room with Holly, the Holly that was my good friend that they used to argue all the time. And he told her, "Can you get these people out of my house?" And she's like, "It's going to be soon, Anthony, let me go." So the next day after everything was all over and everything was gone and we were tearing stuff down, he walked into the house and he opened up the window and he looked around and he said, "Good." And what on that? Yeah. But people used to think he didn't know what he was talking about. But he knew who he was going to vote for. We'd go early vote, and he'd walk in, and they got so used to it, and he'd tell them, "Hey, I'm a D." And they're like, "Yes, Anthony, we know you're a D." Just give them what he needed to get. He'd go in, and he'd know exactly. He even told his grandma, Robinson, one time, she'd vote for the wrong person. And he'd go, "No. And it's like, no." I'm like, "Hey." So she got him to do what he needed to do, but he never missed an election. We just, yeah. He didn't go with us to Reverend Barber, did he?
No.
No, he didn't do the Poor People's Campaign, but he did march in a lot of other things, because I didn't know you then. But we were lucky to have him in our life. He was something else. He took care of his brothers and sisters. He taught Nikki how to make eggs in the microwave. I don't know what he taught Ben. But, yeah.
Something that I was really amazed about with Anthony was if he went somewhere and he met you, he could remember your name, he could remember your face, and he could tell you how he remembered you and where he met you. And I'm looking at people like, "I don't remember meeting that person." And he could pick you out of a crowd. "Oh, that's what's his, what? Who is that?" And we could go and find, and he would be able to have a conversation with that person because he actually knew them. He didn't forget many people's faces or names. For a person that was Downs, the person that you would think that, oh, he had a hard time learning this, Anthony would pick it up without any problem and be able to do it just like that. And you go, wow, this kid, he was amazing. Yeah. An amazing kid. I'm going to miss him.
I know what he taught you. How to clean out a garage the best way. Work smarter, not harder. Yeah.
When I saw that, I was just laughing at you guys. Because you guys, one piece at a time, and he goes and gets the skateboard.
Yeah, it was a skateboard guy.
And he grabs the skateboard, he piles it all up on top of the skateboard and just moves it on out.
They had to clean out the garage before we could let him do something. And they were like, oh, it was hot summer day, we're in the house in the air conditioner drinking iced tea, watching them. Like, just like, like they gotta go do it. And so there, Nikki talked about it, Anthony stood around and he observed what they were doing, and they're dragging pieces of wood and cardboard out of there, dragging it along, and she's mad because she was gonna go hang out with Tunisia somewhere, walk the neighborhood. Nino, you got out of that one. You were somewhere. Came after it was finished, yeah. And so all of a sudden we look out there and Anthony gets out there and he finds his skateboard and just piles everything on top of it. And I know you were going to take it. And we were like, no. So you guys got another box and you put on there. And the work was done in no time at all. It didn't take you as long to do it. But that's because he had to lead the way. Yeah.
Mr. Smooth.
Yeah, Mr. Smooth. Yeah.
We're just gonna sit here until I don't see anything else going on. All right.
Well, I am Anthony's Aunt Debbie. And I had just went to Korea. Well, I came home on my 30-day leave before going to Korea. Xanza was pregnant and she was due. And she decided to have Anthony right after I leave. And so it was over a year before I got a chance to meet my first nephew. And my parents and my family would never call, whenever I was deployed out of the U.S., the continental U.S., anything that happened in the family, they really wouldn't tell me what was going on because they didn't want me to have to stop what I was doing to get back to, even though it angered me because I missed a lot of things. And the first thing I missed was the fact that when Anthony was born, he had all these problems. And he was down at a children's hospital in Indianapolis. Xanza was grieving at that time, and so it was hard for her to be there, but our mom was there with Anthony. And I understand at that time he had two, was it two?
He was hospitalized 13 times first 2 years of his life, and he had two closed heart surgeries and went over.
Yes, I know it was 3 heart surgeries. And so when I finally get back from Korea, and Anthony's there, and he's on the floor sitting, and I would always stay at Xanza's. I mean, I might spend a night or two with Mom and them, but most times I'd be in the Papasan chair, curled up downstairs with Anthony. And I guess because I did not see Anthony go through the things that he went through his first 2 years and suffer, I would push him. And when we were alone, I would make him do things. And then, of course, I'd leave and go to my next duty station, and Xanza would call and say, Anthony's doing this, that, and that. And after a few years of this happening, she finally told me one day, she said, every time you came home for your 30-day leave and you left, Anthony was doing something different. She said, I understand you pushed him because you hadn't seen him suffer. All you saw what he could do, his potential. And that's just how Anthony and I were. And that's why he would always, when I said something, Anthony, it was like, he didn't want to do it, but Anthony said do it, so he did. And there were the 3 of them, Holly, Anthony, Nikki, and there were 4, Tiffany. Those were the first 4 grandchildren. They were there the longest, and they got to know their grandparents very well. In fact, every time I left to go overseas, Tanya was there with Holly because I couldn't take her with me. But I'm glad Tanya had time to grow up with Anthony and Holly because they're our future, you all. You ought to be, of course, but those 3, they're the ones that are going to have to, and y'all going to have to lean. Well, no. Yes, it's the 3, because Anthony's gone, but he's not gone. He's in my heart. He will live forever in my heart. And when y'all say Anthony was, I can't take that, because Anthony is, and will always be is.
Anthony's father, and everybody knows that, because I know all of the kids and aunts and everybody. And it's something I hadn't seen in 30, 40 years. But it's good to see you. Good to see you all. Then some I've seen real recent. I spent a lot of time over to Johnson's home. And I'm surprised I didn't see some of the others, but it was good seeing you all every time I did. But I wanted to say that I didn't spend a lot of time in Pam's and Anthony's life, especially after we got married and moved away. But I knew that he was in good hands because of the people that your family is. I enjoyed some of the stories. Some of them I heard. Pam definitely kept me abreast of those things. And the one about you being, when you came and did all that for preparation, and then you left, and you had to leave. I just found that quite amusing. And Holly was right. Anthony did roll around everywhere rather than walk, but until he did. But those are great stories, and it brought back memories, and it was heartwarming. But one of the times being that Deb and I went up to visit him and take some Taco Bell, and had ice cream and everything.
Burger King.
What was that?
It was Burger King.
Oh, Burger King. Yeah, it was time to go. Yeah, he didn't want you to stick around. That was so true. One time he was supposed to be staying the night over to Pam's, and we were going to go over there, but he had already left. He wanted to go home. But he do have 3 other sisters that's behind you all, and he has another brother. They couldn't make it. He just moved from Atlanta back to Orlando and started another job and going back to school. But there's Jasmine, Carla, and Crystal that's sitting back in next to Deb. I have photos of the 3 of them together, the 4 of them, well, 3, because Jasmine wasn't there that day. But on one of his birthdays, what was that, maybe 3 years ago, and we were all sitting on the couch, and it was just a good time. And every time you all got up here, especially Nikki, when you got up here and you said something about how you guys are so close and whatnot, sometimes he would mention that. And you see Naki in the back, Deacon Reeves, if I called him, he'd say, Naki? I'd say, no, Dad. And I talked to him on Friday. When I talked to him on Friday before, and he was doing good, and of course, that's what he brought up. I said, Anthony, it's Dad. He said, Naki? Again. I said, no. But it was good to talk to him, and then it was kind of saddening because when Pam called me and told me he had taken a turn, and I called up and talked to him, tried to talk to him on Sunday, tried to talk to him on Monday, and wasn't no response. And then thank God Nikki had came up because of the troubles that Pam had been going through, and we were up there at the hospital. And the pastor came up, and it was a good visit, But of course, he wasn't able to respond. But I got up to basically tell you that, in this time that we have together, that we should try to enjoy it, because that's what Anthony would have wanted. And at no time did I ever see him depressed, mad, upset about anything, except for when he was ready for us to leave. but I'm telling you that I got out of character early, and I apologize, but I tried to keep the peace. And it's about peace and love that we should be about at all times. But we are human, and there's going to be mistakes. But guess what? We can forgive each other like God forgave us. So let's love one another and let everything in the past stay in the past, except the good times. Amen? God bless you all. And I'd like to see some of y'all later.
I'm Jarrell. I'm the first child of divorce. Firstborn, sorry. Second of the grandsons. Yeah. I'm not the second. I'm the third. Ben's the second. Yeah. I was saying you had two before me. When I was born, it was about 10 years after the first round of grandkids, so I was the oldest of the second generation of grandkids. Second round. But growing up, I always spent a lot of time at my Aunt Angela and Uncle Norman's house. And anybody who knew me knew that Anthony, much like anybody he came in contact with, was my best friend. He was a protector. He always watched out for everybody. And I don't think I ever knew that Anthony was different. It wasn't something we ever talked about as a family. Like, I knew he had Down syndrome, but that to me didn't mean anything because Anthony was Anthony. He was always there when you needed him. Some of my fondest memories, every Friday, Aunt Sandra would pick me up after school. Me and Anthony would go shopping. We would go to the movies and go to dinner. And that was probably from the time I was in 4th or 5th grade till going into high school. But I knew every single Friday I got to see my big cousin. And then anytime we had to travel with my grandmother, it was me, him, and grandma. And then, my senior year of high school, I'm also a competitive cheerleader. And my aunt took me to Florida for my national competition because my mom and dad couldn't make it. And we were sitting there, and a special needs cheer team came out on the floor. I looked at her and I said, Anthony's going to be a cheerleader. So as soon as we got home from Florida, we found a gym, and Anthony was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be a cheerleader like my cousin. There is not a time or a moment that I would ever change or give back with Anthony. She's the best thing that could happen to any of us. I cherish the times I got to spend with him and the times that he made growing up so much better. Because every time you got to see Anthony, it was a celebration and one of the best times you could ever have.
have your order of service with you, please read along with me as we read the Lord's Prayer. I know in certain traditions there's a little more on the end, but and if you know those words, you go ahead and say them, but these are the words we're going to stick to.
We wish we could be singing together, but we
Yeah.
thought that since the CDC tells us it's not safe, we could at least pray together.
So, our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
We find comfort in Scripture at this time, and I want to share with you all the King James Version of Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters. He restoreth my soul. I lost the page. I should know this. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Our benediction words are from Paul Robeson, and the way that we're going to go out from this place today is like this. I've got some words, and we're going to do that benediction symbol the pastors do. And that's going to conclude the formal service, but Nikki's got another video, so don't move. Paul Robeson said, someday sorrow will turn to joy. All that breaks the heart and oppresses the soul will one day give place to peace and to understanding, and everyone will be free. When that day comes, Anthony will still be resting in power. Go in peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Gonna make a change for once in my life. It's gonna feel real good. Gonna make a difference. Gonna make it right. As I turn up the collar on my favorite winter coat, this wind is blowing my mind. I see the kids in the street with not enough to eat. Who am I to be blind, pretending not to see their need? A son's disregard, a broken bottle top, and a one-man soul. They follow each other on the window, 'cause they got nowhere to go. That's why I want you to know I'm starting with the man.
You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. My music hits me so hard, makes me say, oh my Lord, thank you for blessing me. What am I to rhyme and to hype me? It feels good when you know you're down. A super dope homeboy from the Oak Town, and I'm known as such. And this is a beat you can't touch. I told you, homeboy, you can't touch this. Yeah, that's how we living, and you know you can't touch this. Look in my eyes, man, you can't touch this. Yo, let me bust the funky lyrics. Fresh new kicks and bands, you got it like that. Now you know you wanna dance, so move out of your seat and get a fire girl and catch this beat while it's rolling. Hold on, pump a little bit and let the noise go on like that, like that. Hold on a minute, so fall on back. Let them know that you're too much, and this is a beat they can't touch. Yo, I told you, you can't touch this. Why you standing there, man? You can't touch this. Yo, sound the bell, school is in, sucker. You can't touch this. Give me a song or rhythm, making them sweat. That's what I'm giving them now. They know. You talk about the hammer, you're talking about a show that's hyped and tight. Singles are sweating so fast, I'm a whiteboard tape. To learn what's it gonna take in the 90s to burn the charts. Legit. Either work hard or you might as well quit. That word, because you know you can't touch this. You can't touch this. Break it down. Stop. Hammer time. Go with the flow. It is said if you can't groove to this, then you probably are dead. So wave your hands in the air. Bust a few moves. Run your fingers through your hair. This is it. For a winner, dance to this, and you're gonna get there. The move. Slide your rump. Just for a minute, let's all do the bump. Bump, bump, bump. Yeah. You can't touch this. Look, man. You can't touch this. You better get hype, boy, because you know you can't touch this. Ring the bell. School's back in. Break it down. Stop. Hammer time. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. You can't touch this. Break it down. Stop. Hammer time. Every time you see me, the hammer's just so hype. I'm dope on the floor and I'm magic on the mic. Now why would I ever stop doing this with others making records that just don't hit? I tour around the world, from London to the Bay. It's hammer, go hammer, empty hammer, yo hammer, and the rest can't go and play. Can't touch this.